Hey everyone! Today we're going to make a really delicious recipe in honor of Casino Math Week. It's mud pie, traditionally with a coffee filling and a chocolate ganache and a delicious chocolate cookie crust. It's basically a type of ice cream cake, and it's really easy. So the first thing we're going to do is you're going to buy a pack of chocolate sandwich cookies. And you're going to take the middle out. This is for you guys who really like the middle of these. We're going to scrape the middle out of 30 of them. So that leaves you with 60 halves. So I'll break these into my container. I already have done most of the work over there. But I just wanted to show you, you just take a knife like this. This is like a steak knife. And I just kind of scrape it like this. And then if you can find a purpose for that, let me know. I haven't found any purpose. It's super sugary and sweet. Cookies got stuck. Hold on a second. Those in there. Okay. So we're gonna put this in the food processor, and we're going to grind it. And we're looking for really fine crumbs. So it's gonna take a couple of seconds here. I'm gonna pulse it a couple times. You don't want chunks in this, so let it go until you don't see any chunks. I'm gonna take a look in here. Looking pretty good. Okay, so that's step one. And just too, you can find all these recipes on thegamblingchef.com. This recipe is long, but it's not hard. It's just long because I have to describe to you all the different things that you do to freeze it and, do all that stuff. But it's not a hard recipe, I promise. So this is one cup. It's a stick of melted butter. And then also, sorry, I forgot my salt off camera. You're gonna just put just a little pinch of kosher salt in there. And then we're just gonna pulse this until it's mixed. All right, that's it. That's our crust. And now, this part's a little bit slightly more finicky, but it's not that bad. And really to get, the goal of this is you don't want a giant thick crust that you have to hack through, because this whole thing is gonna be frozen, and it's gonna be very frozen. So I'm gonna show you how to get a thin crust, or a nicely even crust that doesn't have like a big wall on the side of it or something. So here are our crumbs here. Hopefully you can see a good shot of that. I'll do some close-ups too later when I'm pressing this in. So this is an 8-inch springform pan. And what I've done is I've cut a circle of parchment paper out that fits the inside of the bottom. So you can trace this to get your circle. And then you want to cut, when you're cutting it, you cut a little bit inside of that circle because you don't want this parchment paper to go up the sides. And that'll make the crust harder to press down. So I've done a pretty good job, not perfect, but good enough. And you put the butter that I melted for the cookies. I actually took a little bit of that, put it on both sides, and stuck it down. The main purpose of this is to make it easier to get the ice cream cake out of this. The mud pie otherwise can stick to the bottom of this because it's got these little dots on it. So we're just gonna dump all of this cookie crust into there. Stick that over here. And yeah, I'm using my fingers. Deal with it. I use my fingers for so many things in the kitchen. That's kind of the best tool in my opinion. All right, so get all those crumbs out of there. Don't forget anything. Or you can give this to somebody to snack on. I'm sure they won't be mad about that. So I'll put these over here. All right. So now we have to make sure that we can press this crust down and have it be a nice kind of smooth consistency. So I'm going to wash my hands and then I'm going to show you that. The first thing I'm going to do actually before I wash my hands is I'm just spreading these crumbs down in an even layer. on the bottom of the pan so that we're starting with an even layer. I might as well do that before I wash my hands. I'm sure I'll have to wash them again after. So let me go and wash my hands, and then I'll take a close-up of this while I press it down so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna take a measuring cup like this that has a nice, basically flat bottom. It has a teeny bit of a curve, but it's not like, some of them are really curved and that's not gonna help you much with this. So you could either take a glass that's got a good shape like this or a measuring cup, I find is the easiest. And the first part of this that we're gonna do is we're going to do the sides. So we're gonna take this and we're gonna just start pressing the sides up. And I'm gonna kind of rotate the pan as I go. You want this to go about halfway up the sides. And you know, some of it might stick for a second and then you have to redo it. It's okay, because we're gonna actually have to perfect this a little bit when it comes out of the oven, because you're gonna see when it comes out of the oven, it's gonna look a little bit poofy, which is kind of funny that it does that, but it does, because really there's not a lot of ingredients in here. So I'm just taking some of the bottom and I'm going up the sides and I'm getting a nice even layer on the sides. And when the sides look like they're all about the same height and thickness, then I will go onto the bottom and I'll pat that down. But right now we have a little bit of work to do still. Sorry, I'm trying not to move this out of your frame so you can see what I'm doing. That's okay if it's not perfectly, you know, even every single place that you're doing it. Another thing you can do if you have like a big peak is you can like you can use your finger and kind of knock it down. Don't worry if the bottom doesn't look perfect yet, because we're gonna work on that part next. So I'm gonna do that next because I'll probably fiddle with this for a while just because I know how I am. So once you get the sides, they're pretty good right now. They're not perfect, but they're good. Once you get the sides done, then all you do is you kind of take this and you even out the bottom. And careful, because this measuring cup can like easily ding on the sides, and that's like super annoying because then you ruin your crust. Yes, I've done it many times. So I'm just taking this now and I'm pressing down the bottom so that I got a nice smooth layer down there. And if you're finding that like your measuring cup side is kind of running into the wall too much, you can also go under their hands and just finish patting down the bottom of this. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fiddle with this, which you guys don't need to see, and for not a lot longer. It's pretty good, just a couple more minutes. And then I'm gonna put it in a 350-degree oven for 10 to 12 minutes, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it comes out. Okay guys, I have taken the crust out of the oven, and you can see what happens. It kind of sinks down and it puffs up. So we're gonna take our trusty measuring cup again, and I let this sit here for a little over a minute just so it cools off slightly, so just be careful. Use a towel or a baking glove to protect yourself, because this is still really hot, but you have to do this while it's warm. Otherwise you won't get the result. So now is your chance to like really perfect the crust, because while it's nice and warm, it will let you do the sides. And it doesn't take much pressure. You can see I'm just going back around. This is the chance to get that nice crust that's even, so that when you cut through it, it's not coming off in big chunks. I'm just gonna work my way around. And if you do that work like I did ahead of time to make sure the crust is pretty even already, then this really doesn't take that long. And it's kind of important because it's just so saggy looking when it comes out of the oven. But pretty much I'm done. That was easy, right? I mean, I'm just tamping the bottom down a little bit again, making sure I don't mess up my sides like I almost did right there. But okay, so we are good to go. This, yeah, I'm happy with that. If I'm happy, that means it's pretty good. This is going to go right into the freezer. I mean, directly. Well, actually, you could let it cool off for a couple minutes so you can touch it and then put it in the freezer. That doesn't matter that much. So this is going in the freezer. And while it's in the freezer, I'm going to take my ice cream out, which is 56 ounces of ice cream, or 2 of the bigger containers. I'll show you the container without showing you the name. I'm going to let those sit out, and we're going to talk about the right consistency for that to be before you put the ice cream in here. So this is going in the freezer, and I'll see you guys in a minute. Okay, the crust is chilling in the freezer, and I took my 56 ounces of full fat ice cream, coffee ice cream, out of the freezer, and I just wanted to show you, this is the container. It's this size of a container that you want to get. So 2 of these. And you don't have to use coffee. If you don't like coffee, you could do this with any other ice cream that you want. It just won't technically be a mud pie. If you do like coffee, you're really going to like this next part. So I've emptied both containers into a bowl, and the goal now is to soften the ice cream. We do not want to melt the ice cream. We want to soften the ice cream. If you melt the ice cream, what you're going to end up with is a very crystallized mud pie, and we don't want that. So that's why we're going to keep stirring this occasionally, and we really want to break this down into like a paste. And it takes a little bit of time. It's really hot. I live in the Bay Area in California, in the South Bay, and it's really hot today. So I don't think this is going to take that long to turn into a paste. So I'm going to keep stirring it. But what we're going to add to this is the secret ingredient for this Sky High Mud Pie, which is 1 tablespoon of ground coffee. This is a blonde roast. I find that the darker ones are like a little bit too earthy for this, and the blonde one has some kind of nice fruitier notes. So you're actually going to put this right in there. And I know you're thinking, Chef, are you crazy? And I mean, that's debatable. But when I first tasted this, and I was like, it doesn't have like enough coffee kick. Most coffee ice creams out there, frankly, in my opinion, they're not very coffee-ish. So you don't have to do this, but if you do this, you're going to love that extra flavor that you get. It's really good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep letting this thaw, and I'm going to keep kind of working with it with my spoon. You don't have to attend to it at all times. Just don't walk away for like an hour and then come back, because you'll have a puddle. And then if you try to refreeze your puddle, you're going to end up with a crystallized disc, and it's not going to be delicious. So again, the goal is to keep stirring this, keep working it. Don't let it melt too much in any particular area. And then we're going to turn this into a paste. So when I can finally get to the point where I can like stir this entire thing, but it's not a puddle, then it'll be ready to put into our crust. We pretty much did the hardest part already, making the crust, which is not even that hard. So I will see you in a few minutes, and I'll show you what this looks like, and I'll show you what it looks like to put it into the crust. Okay, guys, so here is the ice cream, what it should look like. See how it's a paste? It's almost like a really stiff, soft serve. And yeah, you have to stir it a lot. You have to stir it constantly to get it like this. But it is ready to go in the pan. So that's the consistency you want. No puddles. Okay, so here's the pan. I'm gonna dump this in. See how there's nothing like, no melty, puddly things. I think I just threw ice cream on myself. Oh well, it's a hot day. Can use a little cooling off. Just getting everything out of the bowl here. Okay, so I'm just gonna take this. See, it's just kind of like a mountain. We're just smushing it down and evening it out a little bit. You don't have to worry about this being like perfectly flat on the top at this point. We're gonna take care of that, don't worry. So I'm just working it in the sides. And I can tell by the texture of this right now, it's not gonna freeze with crystals. Again, that's why you spend the time to kind of mix the ice cream and make sure that that you've got it this nice texture instead of too melted. So, but you do want to get this back in the freezer as soon as possible. So I'm going to say that's pretty good. There's some gaps, that's fine. Again, we're going to put this right back in the freezer for an hour. And after 1 hour, I'm going to take this out, and I'm going to put some plastic wrap on the top and smooth it out. And then we're going to refrigerate it for at least 6 hours or overnight. Hey everybody, we are continuing making our mud pie today. It's the next morning. Yesterday was really hot, so I let the ice cream sit in the freezer overnight that I poured into the cookie crust. And now we're gonna make the ganache. And ganache is a super fancy term, sounds super difficult, it's so easy. And once you know how to make this, you can make truffles, you can ice cakes with it. There's all sorts of stuff. So ganache is easy. It's 1 part cream to 1 part chocolate. So I have a cup of cream that I heated in the microwave to just below boiling. And I like to do this in my 2-cup measure. Actually, I'm going to do this by hand. It's going to splash everywhere. And then you just add a cup of chocolate chips. So I'm going with, the old displacement here. I'm just going to add until we get to the 2-cup measure here. Trying not to make, of course, a giant mess. I'm very good at. It's okay though. In my own kitchen, it's okay. My mom's kitchen is unacceptable. So, all right. And these are 60% cacao chocolate chips. So I like that dark chocolate with this. We're going to add a little bit of sweetener to this to a little bit later. So it's going to have flavor. So you're going to bring your cream. You don't have to do it like I did in the microwave. You can do it in a sauce pot. And you're just going to bring it to just below boiling. So it's very hot. And then you're going to add your chocolate. And then you're just going to let this sit for about 10 minutes. And then we're going to come back and stir it. And then we're going to add the rest of our ingredients. At this point, you've made a ganache, like once it's stirred. And you can add any flavorings to the ganache that you want to. You could add liqueurs. You can add different sugar flavorings. You can add strawberry jam once it's a little cooler. And basically, it's how you make truffles. The inside of truffles is a ganache. You can also just do cream and chocolate and pour it on top of a cake to give the cake kind of a chocolatey glaze. You can make the same combination and cool it off a little bit and add things to it and put it in the layers of your cake. So super useful, all-purpose recipe that we're going to glaze our ice cream cake with. And I'll see you in 10 minutes when this is a chance to melt the chocolate. Okay, I have been letting this cream and chocolate sit here for about 10 minutes. And I'm just going to start stirring it together. I like to use a fork if I'm going to do it in the 2-cup measuring cup. But if you're doing a saucepan, you can use a whisk. That's the best tool for that situation. And you just give it time. It takes a minute for it all to come together. Like right now, it's going to look like chocolate mud. And then when the chocolate starts to incorporate itself, it's going to come in to be like a beautiful looking chocolate sauce, which it essentially is. I mean, you don't necessarily have to have this only for mud pie. You absolutely could make this and put it over ice cream and, get creative with that kind of thing too. So giving it a second. There's a chance too, if you did use the microwave, that you're going to have to put this back in the microwave to heat it up just a little bit. I'm just checking to see if I'm kind of in that situation. I think I am. So I'm going to pop this in the microwave for about a minute, just trying to see how warm it is, just to finish melting the chocolate, which is totally normal. Just don't put it in for like 5 more minutes. If you use a saucepan and this happens to you, just turn the heat back on a little bit and get your chocolate melted. I'm pretty close, so I just need another minute and I'll be right back. All right, I popped this back in the microwave for actually it only took about 30-35 seconds, but I wanted to show you guys the texture. This is what you're looking for. There's no lumps, it's silky. And then in the recipe, I tell you to add a teaspoon of butter to this. I already actually did that. And then we are going to put in a teaspoon of vanilla extract. So I'm going to eyeball that because I'm too lazy to get out my measuring spoons right now. We put in about 2 tablespoons of corn syrup. That's 1. That's about 2. The corn syrup's a trick I learned actually from this cheesecake recipe I had, and that's actually going to make this chocolate sauce shiny. The ganache is going to be shiny, sorry. Well, it's chocolate sauce, ganache, whatever. So we're just going to mix that stuff together. And you can actually see it is getting shinier from having that stuff added to it. And that is what you want in a ganache. You want it to be really, really shiny, really luxurious. So one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to pour a hot ganache on a cold ice cream cake or anything for that matter. So this does need to come down in temperature. So we're actually just going to let this sit for about an hour. And then because I froze my mud pie overnight, it should be fine to pour on there. And you'll be able to feel by the outside of what container you're using, less as a saucepan. You can stick your finger in there and have a taste. I mean, I'm not going to judge you for that. So I'll see you in an hour, and then we're going to finish our mud pie. And after that, we'll take a taste. Okay, this is the chilled mud pie that I put in the freezer and put a piece of plastic wrap over after an hour. And here is our cooled ganache that I'm going to pour over the top. You'll be able to tell right away if your ganache isn't cold enough because you'll start seeing these little bubbles of the ice cream creep up through the ganache. And yeah, obviously I have done that before. So just that's why we keep everything, like we keep this really cold, and then, you know, the ganache needs to be room temperature. Okay, and lastly, this is about a half a cup of chopped, lightly salted almonds that I'm going to decorate the top with. You can do this in any which way that you want. I like the almonds with the coffee, but honestly, you could use pistachios, you could use pecans, you could use whatever. I recommend whatever nut you use, you do roast it. I can imagine doing like a mint chip version of this and doing like crushed up candies on the top. So many options for you. And we are almost at the end of the mud pie video again. Hopefully you saw, like I said at the beginning of this whole adventure, this is not a difficult recipe, but the recipe that I posted for it is long because it has so many of these little steps about chilling and stuff like that you have to do. So it's, you know, please give it a shot. So this is going to go back in the freezer until the ganache sets. That is probably going to take about 30 minutes to an hour since this is so cold already. And when I get back, we'll cut into it and I will have a slice. Hey, it's time to taste the mud pie. As you can see here, because we put that parchment on the bottom, I was actually able to take the entire bottom of the springform pan off, which I recommend because it has a little lip on the very edge. It can be hard to cut. So here's a beautiful, beautiful piece of mud pie, and I am going to taste it. Then I'm going to the casino. So I left it out for maybe like 10 minutes or less, and you don't want to leave it out too long so you don't have to get squishy. So, I can see why this has become my family's favorite dessert. My mom and dad and my brother love this. They said it's one of the best things I've made, so I had to make it for you and show you how to make it. And I might have a little more of this to energize me for my drive ahead. But please check the recipe out on thegamblingchef.com, and I will see you next time.